Today, I have as my guest Ana Furlanich, and I'm so grateful that Ana would come and share with me her experience of loss. Ana, would you give me a little life sketch, a little background of
Yeah.
who you are?
Yeah, of course. So, my name's Ana. I'm 26. I'll be 27 in January. I am living currently in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with my husband. My immediate family's here. I was born in Panama City. Panama is in Central America, so right in between Colombia, Costa Rica. My husband is from Argentina, and yeah, we've been here. My family and I have been here for over 10 years in Canada. And
Wow.
we are just here right now. I graduated a year ago from university in child studies. So anything from basically babies to the age of 6 years old before they go into school. That's my world. That's everything I do. And yeah,
Wow.
my husband actually just graduated yesterday. His ceremony was yesterday. And he did communications and media and Italian studies, so the languages and everything.
Oh, that's so
Mm.
interesting. Wow. So your education and background, I hope that was helpful as you went through the very, very difficult trial that you had. Can
Mm-hmm.
you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we had a loss of a child back in 2022. So I was pregnant 2022, and I'm not a doctor, but I'll try to explain the best I can. I very generally, like, I'm healthy. I don't have any major complications, not even an allergy. And I had a good, healthy pregnancy, a normal, quote unquote, pregnancy up until like week 40. So the 9 months of pregnancy, where I had a placental abruption, is what it's called.
Oh
And
gosh.
I can't explain it in the most scientific way, so don't quote me, but basically the placenta, which gives the nutrients, oxygen to the baby, separates from the uterine wall, the uterus, and obviously, therefore, like baby stops receiving oxygen.
Oh my
And
gosh.
normally, I believe those are caused by like trauma, like a fall, or if I was in an accident. But mine was a rare case where there was no cause. So we believe it happened just maybe a few days before birth.
Oh,
But yeah, no cause, nothing that we found.
that just that makes you feel sick inside because at 40 weeks the your baby was essentially
Ready.
viable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for a few weeks. I mean, babies are born way
Hmm.
earlier than that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you how did you even begin to manage the emotions and thoughts and
Hmm.
feelings? What was going on in your mind?
Yeah, it was a shock. I think for us, or I mean, obviously I've learned a lot, but I think we kind of live in this bubble where when something hasn't happened to us, we feel like we're kind of safe from it, protected from it, if that makes sense. Like, I
Mhm.
never would have thought that would happen to me. I kind of thought it was like a movie thing, which sounds ridiculous, but
No, it doesn't
I
sound
I saw
ridiculous at
that,
all.
like I saw it in shows, I saw it in movies. I never pictured that would happen to me. But we were obviously so shocked, really confused, because we had to have an emergency ultrasound where they told us. I was, yeah, just very angry, just not at anyone, but just at the situation, and just, yeah, just so confused, shocked, because like you said, like 40 weeks, you think you're in the safe zone. You're ready.
Seriously.
We didn't even bring the car seat. We didn't bring like anything because we just thought it was a regular ultrasound. So
Oh
very,
my
very surprised.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can't even. I'm so sorry
Thank you.
for what you went through. And this was your first
This was
pregnancy,
my
your
first
first.
pregnancy. Yeah.
So again,
Hmm.
did you feel broken? What did you feel like?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, that's a good word. I felt really empty. I think that's a better word. Just because we were so ready, and yeah, again, just confused. I think confused is just the word that describes everything, because everything during the pregnancy was fine. And it was almost like a why this situation, because again, like, I'm a child studies major, so this is like ironically like the worst thing you could, like, trial, I guess, you could give to somebody that loves children and is with
Exactly.
children. And that is my world.
Exactly.
So I felt like it was just not fair that I was so excited for something and that I almost like I did everything right. That's what I felt. I felt like I did everything right. I was healthy. I was moving. I was,
You were in a
you
good
know,
marriage, right? You
yeah.
weren't
So
14 in the back of a van somewhere, down. You were.
yeah. So it's like, you get something and it's almost there and then it's just taken from you. It just felt really very unfair. Yeah.
How did your husband react at the time?
Same as me at the time. He held my hand like emotionally, physically the whole time. He actually, we were given the option to go back home, and I just was like, that was just crazy to me. Like, I'm not going back home. How am I supposed to go back home right now? So I was induced, and it's just like from 1 second of knowing your child had passed to, okay, you're now going to give birth to this child. And he had to make the calls. I couldn't. He had to make the calls to our family and, his mom, my mom, his, like, my friends, like the people that we were going to come. So he
Yes.
was so strong during the whole time. And, but obviously, yeah, I know he was feeling the same way I was.
Wow. And from your family, I'm sure it was just immediate shock as well. I mean, they're literally getting ready to come
Right.
and see you and this new
Right.
baby. And
yeah. And I'm the only daughter from my side. And our first was the only or first grandchild.
Yes.
So it was just like a whole thing to the family.
Anna, thank you so much for sharing that. That's really, really tough.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had a boy,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
had a son. Did you give him a name?
Yeah. So we had a son. His name is Emiliano. So Emiliano, Emiliano. And
Emiliano.
Emiliano Alejandro, and middle name is after my husband's father who passed when he was younger. And yeah, I guess you could say not regular, but regular labor besides that. And we were given time to see him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a fully strong, heavy, developed baby. We took that as a very private moment. So just me and my husband were with him for a while, and we actually didn't want anyone to see him. I don't know. It was a weird moment of like anger, but love, but confusion, but almost like I felt very protective. Like I was like, I don't want anyone to see him. I don't want anyone to be here. Like I don't want to talk to anyone. But then the nurse actually like these nurses, will never forget them. Some nurses are just angels, and she didn't pressure us, but she spoke to us a little bit and she said, this is something that you'll never get the chance for whoever, family members, whoever you choose to meet your son, and you might regret it. So she basically was telling us, you just let them see him. And right. I felt like my heart kind of changed, and I felt, you know what, like, let's have our parents meet him. So just our parents, they got to meet him separate as well, like them by themselves. We just wanted it to be a very special, private moment for everyone. So I think it's something people forget. Like he was very, and is very real,
right.
Like a full baby. We saw like his physical features, what he had of mine, what he had of my husband's, and yeah, he's very, very real.
And he must have just been so beautiful and yet so strange.
Yeah,
because he's not moving. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it sounds like you were really fortunate where you were able to give birth to him.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what they did right.
Yeah.
In the clinical situation.
Right. Well, we had lots of nurses. My midwife, I had a midwife as well, which we love. And I think they just treated us like we were the only people this had ever happened to. Like I felt like I was, and I know they see this unfortunately so many times throughout their year.
Right.
But they were just very kind, as simple as that sounds. Like they gave us a card and they made us like a box with, they made him like a like they got some of his hair. They made us footprints. The nurse asked us, like, when we dress him, do you want me to take pictures on your phone of him, like his little feet, his little hands, his face? And she did that. And she even came back and said, I put them, because on iPhone you can hide photos, right?
Okay.
So she said, I hid the photos. So whenever you are ready, and you have to put your face ID, go in and see them. Like just these little things that now that's like all we have of him.
Wow.
And just the consideration, again, as if we were the only people, and they were just so kind to us and so patient, and they don't even know us, right? So we'll never forget that.
You know, that right there this is something I haven't actually heard someone say before, and it's really giving me a lot to think about. This idea that they treated you like the only people had ever happened to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is such a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a reminder to me that even when we've experienced loss, and even when people have experienced multiple losses, sometimes you can forget how fresh and raw and horrible it is for that person in that moment. That's a fantastic piece to keep in mind.
Yeah, and we felt like that. We felt like we were the only ones. And I know that obviously so many people have lost children, but it still felt like that, because obviously on my social media, I have my friends. I don't have the whole world. I don't follow a page of every single person in the world that's lost a child. So what I was seeing was everyone living like, quote unquote, these like happy, normal lives.
Seriously. Yeah.
But I know that now I know I'm not the only one that has gone through that. And it wasn't until I went through it that I learned, oh my gosh, so many people have gone through it, or people came up to me and shared similar stories. So yeah, you just never know that if someone's gone through something similar, right?
I love that for you, that they were so sensitive to that moment, because you can't take those moments back.
Right.
You know that. So how did you even begin to, like, when did you share on social media? What did you say?
Yeah, it took us, I'd say a few weeks, not like super long, but not right away, because we just wanted everyone to know, mainly because we were getting a lot of, like, people knew, right? I was very pregnant.
Like the word, yeah. Oh, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Work. I was already starting my maternity leave, church and friends, just social media. Like people knew I was going to have a baby, or they, in their minds, oh, she must have had the baby.
Exactly.
So we were receiving lots of messages like, congrats guys. Oh, I'm assuming you had the baby. When's the baby coming? How's the baby? And people that were close to us that had babies either a few weeks before or a few weeks after. So we just wanted almost to like, okay, this is what's happening, just so we stopped receiving messages that were hard to read. And we made it pretty detailed. We made a post with, his little fingers and his feet, and just explained very, very briefly, but like explaining what happened and just our words to him. And we just wanted him to be seen and people know that, we still have a son, right? So obviously we posted that and we received right away many messages. A lot of people were in shock as well. And, it's hard because it's people, that were excited for you and love you. So it was like another loss with everyone that we love, right? Just seeing them feel our loss.
Yes. It's so dignifying to him as a little person that you introduced him. I love that you did that. That you shared what you could of him and his tiny little life.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you had friends who had just had babies and were having babies.
Yep.
So how do you navigate that special torture as a mother with empty arms?
Yeah, that was one of the hardest parts, because I'm at the age where a lot of my friends and people I know are having babies, getting pregnant, starting families, and it was hard. I didn't want to delete my social media because I like being like caught up with my friends. I like seeing these things, this happy news, but it was really hard because I was seeing like baby post after baby post, pregnancy announcement,
Yes.
babies being born. And it's like, I wanted to be happy for them. And I didn't want to be that person that was annoyed at someone for being happy just because I had gone through something. But it just got to the point where it was just really bringing me down. And my husband just told me to just get off of social media. I
Yeah.
felt like that was a failure. Like I kind of failed if I don't know, if I
Yeah. If
turned
you
off my
weren't
social
strong
media.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm like, am I going to be that person? But you know what? I did it, and it helped. It helped me to just take my own time.
Yeah.
And when I was ready, obviously I got it back on. But it was hard. I didn't want to know about a lot of babies for a while. Hearing babies cry was really, really hard for me because, well, newborn babies, and there were newborn babies in the church, like our ward.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to leave. Like there were a lot of triggers.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially because newborn cries are so distinct to like a 6-month-old
Right.
cry.
Right.
And just the fact that I had to still deal with the postpartum, I think people forget that.
Yes.
I still had to heal. I still like had milk. I
Exactly.
had stitches. Like I was left with that physical effect, but without my baby. So it was just a really confusing thing. But I just took time off social media and just went back on when I was ready.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you, when you look back at yourself then, do
Mm-hmm.
you still feel like that was a failure, or do you have a different, like, narrative in your mind for what you needed to do in order to emotionally and,
Yeah,
you know?
no, I feel very differently now. I think we need to do what we need to do, what is best for us. I think that's totally okay. I think it would have been okay if I would have never gone back, if I would have, like,
Mhm.
yeah, I think just prioritizing your own health, um, people understand. Most people,
Right.
if they love you, they will understand. Mhm.
Right. So who was really there for you during all of this heartache?
Yeah, well, my husband, obviously, first and foremost, was like my main rock. We were really, really strong together when we lost our son. Um, in the sense that when I was just breaking down and crying, like he would comfort me, and vice versa. When he was not able to be strong, like I was strong for him. And yeah, I would not have been able to do it without him. My family as well was there. Um, it in a different way. Like it was a little bit hard with my family. I love them a lot, and I think it's really hard for us to see people we love suffer.
Hmm.
And it's almost like I put them first. Like I didn't want it hurt me so
Mm,
much to see them hurt. So I
right.
almost distanced myself in the way, not physically, but emotionally, like distanced myself from them for a while. Like I didn't really want to talk to them that much about it.
Uh-huh.
If they brought it up, of course, but
Right.
I just wanted to take my own time because I just could not bear seeing them hurt so much.
Right.
So if I could go back, I would have changed that because I think I learned that we need to also give our family time to grieve and space to grieve. Like that's what's fair for them.
Hmm.
And maybe what they wanted to do was grieve with me. That was their way of grieving. So I wish I would have
Right.
allowed them to grieve with me a little bit because I think that would have healed them more in that moment. But so it was mainly my husband and I, my family, um, and some friends. I mean, yeah, that was hard seeing people that you thought would be there for you that were not really there for you. Or some people are there for a week and then that's it. So um, I think in those moments, it's good to lean on the people that you know will be there for you and that are showing you that they are there for you.
Hmm.
Obviously, also understanding that we all have our own lives. It's hard for people to give you exactly what you want. So, but yeah, my husband, my family, they were really, really supportive.
That's good. I can understand. I can relate to some of what you're saying. The the way people, yeah, it's interesting to watch someone grieve your grief, right? to watch them grieving for
It's hard.
you. And then I remember I was really fortunate also. My family was really, really there for me, especially my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, every time I saw her, she would break down crying, and that was really hard because
Right.
I always had, I wanted it to be the other way around. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
be able to break down crying and have her comfort me
Right.
instead of comforting her for
Mm-hmm.
me. That was, yeah, those are, those are hard things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you navigate questions like, oh, how many kids do you have? Or
Oh yeah.
because you've since had a little girl now, right?
A boy. Yeah. A
Oh,
boy. So
you had
we,
another boy. Okay.
yeah. Yeah. We have a 7.5
Oh,
month old boy. His
oh,
name's
wow.
Tiago. So Thiago. Yeah. Tiago
Yeah.
came last year in October. So I actually got pregnant very soon after we lost our first son.
Uh-huh.
And I was not in the right place. And I felt that like what I needed was, I just need a baby. I just need a baby. That's what's going to heal me.
Right.
Even after losing our son, again, obviously not from the right place. So yeah, I was pregnant and quickly learned that that's not the solution. That's not what
Okay.
I needed. I needed my first son, right? Like nothing was going to heal that, right? Even
Right.
even a new baby. Obviously, he brought so
Right.
much. We love him so much, but it's something that they're different people. They're two different babies. But yeah, we still get asked, of course, like how many kids? How many kids do you have? Or when they see him, very naturally they say, "Oh, is this your first?"
Right.
Um,
Normal thing for people
and
to say and
yeah,
to
exactly.
assume.
Like nothing wrong. And obviously, it's still not something that I'm like an expert at answering. But we just learned to say like, no, this isn't our first. And sometimes I leave it at that, and people are respectful and they don't ask, or they're just like, oh, okay, and they assume you just have another child at home or something.
Right, right,
And
right.
sometimes I say, no, this isn't our first. We have another son. And then obviously they ask like, oh, how old is he? And obviously in that situation I have to clarify a bit, but we just do it very respectfully and briefly.
Uh-huh.
We just say, oh, our son passed away in whatever 2022, or my 9 months of pregnancy. And most people have been very respectful and they just say, oh, I'm so sorry. And then we move on. So it's still something that's hard to hear, or it kind of throws you off sometimes. Yeah, how many kids do you want? Like now we've just kind of taught ourselves how to answer certain things.
Yeah.
And depends how we're feeling. Like sometimes we're feeling like it's just not the right situation sometimes. So if we're somewhere where it's probably not the best situation to bring up my child that has passed, we'll just kind of give a brief version or brief answer. And then other times, we'll sit down, we'll explain, and it just depends.
So, okay, so can you give me an example? Like, give me an example of where it feels like, uh, it's just very brief and quick or whatever, and then give me an example of maybe a time where it feels more appropriate to share more
Yeah.
detail.
Um, yeah, sometimes we would be like at church, or I've been sometimes in a public space, like complete stranger. They just see our baby. He's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
That's just very brief. I either don't know you. I'm not going to just have a conversation with you about this right here. So that's brief, like public situations. But, if it's somewhere with some friends, we're sitting down, or we're like, even like at a get together sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Um, or yeah, I guess just depends. But it's usually like public, quick situations where somebody just stops you and says hi. Like that's not usually the best situation to do it in.
Right, right. You just
Yeah.
cut. Do you always acknowledge that there is another child, or do you sometimes even just be like, yeah, isn't he cute, and move on? And or
We
do you always bring up,
we always bring him up.
oh,
I think like we just mentally said, okay, we can't ever not bring him up.
right.
I think I did it by accident one time, or I think I just wasn't in the mood. I don't even remember, but I felt really bad after. So, yeah, we always make it a goal to bring him up, whether it's briefly or not. But he's always in our lives.
I actually really love that because, again, it's so honoring to him as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everyone would decide that was the right thing for them to do, but I love that you honor his existence every time, even in a brief way.
He deserves it.
Yeah, that's good. How long did it take you to feel like being around other babies?
Not sure. I think at least 6 months. I have a lot of nephews, nieces, so many from my husband's side. And it was weird. With them, I was fine. Just because I knew them, I love them. If I love you, I still want to be around you. And I love my nieces and nephews. So it was more like strangers' babies, if that makes sense. Because I didn't really have a connection to them. So I kind of just saw them as a baby, and that just hurt.
Yes.
But it took some time. Yeah, there was as well a mom club that started with some friends that was moms getting together once a month, I think, or once a week, and they would cook different recipes and just moms. Yeah. But I knew these moms had newborns and babies, and they logically just had to bring them.
Yes.
And I did not go. So I avoided that, and I did not go. There's something I was invited to, and it sounded really fun, but I just was not in the place to be around other mothers with babies where we would be sitting and talking about our babies, which is very natural. So yeah, strangers, I guess, babies I didn't know, a while. But my family, babies I did know, I loved being with them. It actually made me happier.
Good, good, good. That totally makes sense to me. It would have been very, very hard, even if these women were lovely and
exactly.
But just so painful. Was there anything in particular that helped you to work through all of this pain, other than time? Were there any is there anything you could really point to as being helpful?
Yeah. That's interesting. I think the first thing, just crying, crying and talking about it. Obviously, I think that's something a lot of people will say, hopefully. I can't imagine have held all of that in. So I cried a lot. I talked a lot. Obviously complained a lot. I still very publicly, to my husband, for many days saying, this isn't fair, I don't understand. But I think even that, it's in a negative way, I was complaining, grieving, it was still helpful for me to get that out, because that's what I was feeling. And actually, my mom, when it had just happened, she started a shared note on our iPhones where she wrote letters to him, and just notes about kind of a diary entry, a journal entry. She wrote the way she was feeling, and today she woke up feeling this way, because again, we didn't talk about a lot in person because it was just really hard for me. Sadly, I kind of avoided that, but I wrote as well. On my phone, in what's called just in person physically. My husband and I wrote him, our son, a letter as well together, things we want to say to him, we would have said to him. Leaving the house, that's hard, obviously. It's not that you have to leave right away, but just getting out, moving, being with people, although that's also hard, but almost trying to expose yourself to some happiness, not to erase the sadness or just pretend it didn't happen, but just to help you feel a little bit better each day, even if it's just one thing during the day that made me happy. Being with people, talking about it, writing, talking about our son, all of that helped.
That's so good. I like what you're saying about allowing yourself to embrace a tiny bit of happiness.
Yeah.
Maybe even, every day, just allow just a tiny bit of
Mm-hmm.
normal and good, because it's so hard.
Yeah, and it's hard. I think we found it really hard to be happy because I'm sure lots of people can relate. I would feel like we would feel guilty when we were being sad for too long, but then we would feel guilty when we were happy or laugh a little bit because I think our brain thinks, oh, you're happy, you're forgetting about whoever that has passed, which now I know it's not like that. So there's actually like a quote or a video I saw. I can't remember. It's a church video and a lady that her husband had passed. And she had, I don't know how many kids. And I really resonated with the video, really resonated with me because she said that she learned that happiness and sadness can coexist. They can exist at the same time. And that just like hit me because I was feeling like I had to be either or. I could not be both. Like that's not possible. But I learned that you can be happy and also still be grieving my child. I can be sad, but also still go do something with some friends and laugh. So that took some time to learn, but yeah, we have to allow ourselves to still be happy, and not that you're moving on, but just continuing your life, but still remembering them. You know, it's a weird balance. It's a hard balance.
It's so true. That is so true. So how did your faith affect your experience, do you think?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. We were never angry with God, without getting too deep into it, but I never felt like I had to blame someone. If anything, I was like, did my body fail? But that also took me some time, but we never felt like angry at someone. It was just like, why is this happening? I don't know why, but this is happening. But I think my faith really helped for me to be stronger, right? Because I knew with my beliefs, I knew that he was still alive. Like we would see him again, that we could still like feel him, and he was still with us, obviously in a different way. I think it helped me to understand that things happen and they don't necessarily happen just because you did something wrong or because I deserved it. Sometimes, unfortunately, life is just life, and unfortunate things happen, sad things happen. Doesn't take away the pain or the gravity of it, but yeah, sometimes things happen, and it's not because we deserved it or because we're bad people. Yeah.
Right. I think it's really interesting. That's really interesting that both of you didn't feel anger toward someone, which sounds really healthy to me, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, anger is such a reasonable reaction to these experiences that we have. And it is so unfair. And it's really easy to see people around us in a seemingly similar situation and think, I don't understand why this is me.
Yeah.
You know, why? Not that you wish it on somebody else, you just don't wish it on anyone at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But do you feel like that helped you to get through it better because your anger was more of a general angry at the situation and not at God?
Yeah, I think it helped me. I think any resentment just wouldn't have been healthy for us. And I think it kind of helped me to, again, it's hard to say moving on without saying moving on. It helped me to move forward in a healthier way. I think if you try to just blame it on someone, you don't really move forward. It's just kind of, that's just where your anger, your feelings will always be, but you didn't actually move forward. So yeah, it helped me to just, okay, it's nobody's fault. It was not my body. This was a rare situation. So now what? Like, now what can I do? And it gave me that space to find ways to grieve, find things that would help me. Because yeah, it was no one's fault. And this is where we are. This is our life now. And let's do what we can to be happy.
So it sounds like also because of this way you guys were able to approach it, it probably helped you to preserve your relationship with each other. Did you ever feel mad at your husband, or did he ever feel mad at you, like somehow one of you were supposed to figure something out 3 days before?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah, no, if anything, like it was just us being hard on ourselves. Yeah, like my husband he got really sick just a few days before, like really bad cold, the joke that men are big babies when they're sick.
right.
So I was taking care of him, like 40 weeks pregnant.
Right.
But then, there were moments where he felt like, it's because you were paying so much attention to me. But then I was hard on myself because I got really comfortable saying, oh, we're at 40 weeks. And I stopped tracking his movements, which I was doing pretty much since you were supposed to. So I was hard on myself saying, oh, if I would have just kept tracking his movements, maybe I would have noticed that he was not moving or something, so we were never blaming each other, never angry at each other. It was, if anything, us on ourselves. But then we had to learn as well that, again, like it wasn't our fault, because it was a rare situation as well. There probably would have been nothing I could have done either way. When the placenta just separates, it's not like I could have done anything probably unless I was in the hospital right away.
Yeah, and how do
So,
you don't even feel that. There's no
right.
way for you to know that's even happening.
There's no way for me to know.
You're right, unless you were literally hooked up to a monitor at the very
Exactly.
moment, which is, that's why it's called rare, right?
Yeah.
Because it is rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you said that you got pregnant pretty soon after, but you think maybe you weren't as prepared. Would you
Mm-hmm.
just explain that a little bit, share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I guess because I always knew I wanted a family, and before our first son, I had been feeling a little bit like, when you feel just sad and down for no reason, but you can't find the reason. So I was just feeling weird a few months before I found out I was pregnant with him, and I just felt like something was missing for me to be fully happy. That's what I told my husband. Like I feel like I'm not fully happy, like something's missing. And I quickly learned that, it's that I wanted to start a family. I wanted a baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think after his loss, because in my mind I was like, what I need is a baby. I thought that was the solution. That's what was going to heal me. So yeah, soon after I got pregnant, again, thinking that's what was going to make me feel better. But yeah, I just learned that wasn't, and I quickly learned that when we lose someone or something so painful like it, I had to accept that it's something I was going to have and be going through the rest of my life. Like I thought that there was like an end point of the grief in a way where like, okay, I'm going to be better in, I don't know how many years, which now obviously that's just how I was thinking because I've never gone through something like this. So I just had to learn that, yeah, this is my life now. This is part of who I am. And it's not something that will just heal in a year or two. It will always be there. Maybe your heart will fill up through other ways, but there will always be that one space, right? That's a little empty. And
Right.
yeah.
Right. It'll always be this reminder of that beautiful baby boy that was wanted and loved and missed.
Yeah. And when we when I was pregnant with my son, we were obviously very happy and super excited, but it did change. Like losing our first son did affect my second pregnancy a lot, like so much. Like first of all, physically, I was labeled high risk and will forever be labeled high risk now because of my first situation. So that changes everything. It's like way more ultrasounds, way more appointments, way more checkups. They were looking at the placenta, looking at the circulation. And then just environmentally as well, like I did not want to have a baby shower, which we actually didn't. When we told our family, we didn't tell them till I was like halfway, like a really long time. I almost like wish I could have just like never told anyone, just had him and like he's here. Like yeah, like if I could have. But yeah, it really affected it. Like just, it's not that we didn't celebrate him, that we weren't happy, but we were obviously now like our bubble was burst. Like we were
Yeah.
scared now, and we were now in that mentality of like anything can happen. You never know now. And
Right.
I'm glad I learned that. But we asked, our family respectfully to not, like we didn't want to celebrate too much until he was here, healthy, happy, alive in our arms. We asked them not to
Right.
buy like any clothes. Please don't, even like how they spoke. We asked them not to speak hypothetically, like, oh, he's going to be this, oh, he's going to be that, or I can't wait to do this with him. That was not healthy for us. So they were so respectful
Yeah.
of that. And it was just like let's live one day at a time. And once he's here, we can celebrate all we want. But for now, like, it was a very delicate situation, right? And
Yeah.
we were almost like with the mentality my whole pregnancy that he like wasn't going to make it, which sounds so like harsh and sad, but that's just like how we like are, again, like that's our reality. That's what it felt like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm never going to have a child again. So not until we heard him like crying in our arms, like then we were like, okay, he's here. And no, he changed our whole lives. We love him so much, but it does change everything. Like your reality changes, everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I can relate to the sentiment of what you're talking about. For me, and obviously different loss, right? I lost
Mm-hmm.
my husband, but
Right.
but when I met my husband, he was actually widowed. And so it was interesting because it introduced the concept of death into our marriage before it even
Right.
started,
Mm-hmm.
right? And which ended up, I felt like, being a good thing for what I focused on and what I cared about,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, because I was so aware that you just can't take for granted that you're going to grow old
Right.
together,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and so do you feel like that affects your relationship with Diago, that the
Mm.
preciousness of his little life?
Yeah. It did, and it does. Um, for a while, like it was hard. We were scared that I don't know, I just had that fear that something was going to happen to him. Um, I was like a very anxious mother. Like I did not want him to sleep in our bed, which I know that works for so many people. But I was just like, I do not want to do anything that puts him in any situation, like a vulnerable situation. Like for months, I was still like, he was here, but I was still like, we could lose him. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
because it
Yes.
truly is trauma. Like you are traumatized and scared. But now we take like his life. We know he's so special, and
Yeah.
um, we know that he is like a big blessing. And yeah, we do see him differently, and I think I see even other children differently, and my family, and just like that. You truly never know what can happen. So in a way, it helped us. He's just so special, right? Doesn't
Right.
take away from our first son, but he represents something so special.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think that is very special.
Mm-hmm.
Just how preciously adored he, and all children are adored,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he is adored with knowledge that his
Exactly.
little life
Mm-hmm.
is each day is a gift,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And sorry, go ahead.
no, I would love to hear what your thought is.
Yeah. So his name is Tiago, and
Yeah.
we really liked that name because the meaning of it is God will recompense us, and specifically us in Spanish, right?
Right.
So we felt really strongly about that. We felt that like Tiago represented, um, it's not that like it's like a prize for the loss, right? But like he
No.
represented us being like going through something so horrible and so hard, but still finding happiness
Right.
and
Right.
still being able to like fill a new part of my heart. So he's
Right.
very special.
I love that. I absolutely love that you chose a name that has so much
Mm-hmm.
significance and symbolism and
Yeah.
meaning. How about Emilio? Is that how you say
Yeah. Already. Yeah. Emiliano.
Emiliano?
Yeah.
How did you choose his name?
Um, Honestly, it was just a name we liked. It was a
Yeah,
name we liked.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a really pretty name. His middle name is more special more than anything, Alejandro, which, like I mentioned, was my
Alejandro.
husband's father who passed when he was younger. And he's actually buried in Cardston,
Uh-huh.
which is a city kind of close to us, and he's beside my husband's father.
Alejandro.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
to us, that was even more special. Like they're together there. We can visit and see them both, with his grandpa. And yeah, it was just a name we really liked, and it just fit perfectly, and it was just really special.
And you had chosen that name well before he was born, right? Even the
Yeah, we had
Alejandro.
like no, actually. Well, we had a list.
Okay,
But
okay.
boy names are hard. Boy names are hard. So even
It's
to the day that
true.
I was in labor, we still did not have like a name decided.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then we met him, and it just like came out. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's really sweet. And do you think of him being with his grandfather Alejandro now?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do all the time.
So you've changed a lot as a person. I mean, you're still young. You're 26. You're still relatively young. How do you feel like you have changed? And are they good changes?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I have changed. Yeah. Losing a child changed me like completely. And it took me a long time to be able to say, not that I'm grateful for losing a child, but that I'm grateful for the things I learned. Um, yeah, it's hard to talk about, but I think I learned that you never really know what someone's going through, and that's like everyone says that, but it's true. You don't. Um, I learned to be a lot more like compassionate, and when I knew someone was going through something, whether it was a completely different situation, like I was very aware. I was more aware of it now. Like it just reminded me to check in on those that you love as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, to check in on those you love, and sometimes it taught me a lot about what we can do with our friends, family, whoever that have lost someone or are going through a hard time, and taught me that sometimes we don't we overthink the way that we can comfort our friends. Sometimes we think we need to like solve the problem for them, solve the situation. But I learned that it's sometimes so simple. It's as simple as like we just sometimes needed a hug.
Mhm.
We I appreciated so much like the texts I got, the simple texts that were just, we are thinking about you, we love you, or you don't need to reply, but blah blah blah. The meals people brought, like flowers, I remember every single one of those things people brought, and the name and everything. So it just taught me that sometimes we just need to be there for people. It's more simple than we think, and people just want to feel thought about. People just want to feel loved. They don't expect you to, and you can't bring back the person they lost, right?
Right.
Um, and just to be there. And yeah, it really opened my mind, honestly, to a lot of things that also that like we said, that life is short, to not take certain lives or our own for granted, to celebrate small, special moments. Yeah, it taught me so, so, so much. Yeah.
How do you sell it? And thank you for sharing that, by the way. That was wonderful. And I love the emphasis on just the little things, because you're right. You're really not expecting anyone to take the pain away from you or to solve things, but to
Mm-hmm.
walk with you, right? To
Yeah.
to just walk with you on that path. So
Yeah.
how do you celebrate Emiliano now? How do you celebrate the day of his birth, for example?
Yeah. So last November, was his first birthday, or would have been his first birthday. So
Wow.
we went to visit him, of course, and we had a cake. Like I got a cake made
Oh,
that said "Happy Birthday," and we had our closest, like immediate family gather, and we sang "Happy Birthday" to him. And again, it's hard. It will be hard. It was hard. Um, but yeah, just that's how we celebrate him. We want to still keep him very alive. And our son now, like he has gone to visit him, like we introduced them, and he was like a month old in his car seat in the winter.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. And, obviously he doesn't understand this right now, but we talk to him all the time about him and, tell him that his brother's with him, that his brother loves him. And just talking about him. I think that's our way of celebrating him and always remembering him.
Yeah. I love how much you continue to make him a part of who you are as a mother of two sons, right? That's really wonderful. Well, this has been such a fantastic conversation. I am really, really grateful that you would share your experience. Someone has experienced something similar, right? And these things we have in common, they can knit our hearts together with,
right.
In compassion for each other. I love that. So the last question that I ask everyone is, what do you think it means to grieve well?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I don't know what the right answer is, but I think I know what it means to not grieve well. Okay. So maybe that will help me figure my own answer out. But I think naturally we want to close. Very naturally, we want to isolate and shut down. And I think that's not the way to. And I know that's easier said than done. So I think to me, grieving well is just expressing yourself. It doesn't matter how it is, but whether it be to one person or your journal or little by little, but really to just feel what you're feeling. I just know that holding in these emotions, hard, negative emotions, I know it's not healthy for us. And I know it can affect relationships. So I think grieving well is just feeling and acknowledging as well the good, the bad. I mean, you don't want to pretend that the bad didn't happen, and you also don't want to live a life thinking that good will never happen. So acknowledging both and allowing others to help you as well. Yeah, giving space to others, because obviously it's not about others, but family, especially, and friends, they are part of this. They are part of the grieving. So yeah, giving space to others to grieve with you. And I think it helps everyone heal, right? So it's also just reminding yourself that grieving well, it's a process. Again, don't put a timeline on it. And it can even be a whole life thing. But I think for me personally, I've learned that the pain or the loss, it doesn't go away, but it just gets a little bit easier to live with it. Doesn't diminish it, but we're able to find ways to just be happy again. And just reminding yourself that life doesn't have to move on past it, but life can still move forward, and you can still have moments of happiness and still remember the person that you lost.
Thank you so much. That's fantastic thought. I really appreciate it. Thank you again.